Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh bidvaro. One of the outstanding moments in the Jewish calendar is without a doubt the Seder of Pesach. We're going to be around the table, father, son, daughter, wife, if we are fortunate, grandchildren, grandparents. We're going to be in the midst of our family, and we're going to celebrate. What are we celebrating? We're celebrating the Exodus from Egypt, the fact that God took us out of Egypt. It says in the Torah, "Vehigadeta levincha bayom hahu." On that day, you have to tell your child. In other words, there is a narrative that you have to perform that night, and we do it through a book called the Haggadah. We retell what happened in Egypt. Not only do we retell, it says in the Haggadah, "Chayav adam lirot et atzmo." One has to look upon himself, "Ke'ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim," as if you yourself, as if he himself went out of Egypt. It is not retelling a story that happened to our ancestors, but we ourselves have to feel that we are in Egypt and that we're getting out of Egypt, that we are becoming free again. And there are many symbols that remind us about that. So basically, I would say that Pesach, the Seder of Pesach, is about two things. Number one, Haggadah. You have to retell the story and feel as if you went out of Egypt. And number two, the warmth of the family around us. When you have your children, your wife, nowadays, how often do you really dine or eat with your children? Each one has his own schedule. This day is here, the other day is someplace else. And then again, with these blessed phones that we all have, when we sit together, we are really not together. Each one is looking at the messages that he is receiving at that moment and writing a response. There's very little interaction among us. So the night of the Seder is something different. It's a family night. It's a date of reunion, once again, of strengthening the bonds that make us a family. I want to mention one particular item. One of the things that we do during the night of Pesach is we break the matzah in two. Why do we do that? Maybe to remember something, which is the following. In Egypt, who was enslaved? The entire Jewish people. All the Hebrews were slaves, except, according to our rabbis, the tribe of Levi. They were the priests. They were not enslaved. But there must have been some rich people, some very powerful people who paid their taxes, pay their way out of slavery, and were not enslaved. Yet, our rabbis tell us that they shared the bread that they had with those that were enslaved. So we break the matzah in order to show that you can only eat part of it. Another part you have to give to somebody else. This is the meaning of that. Or maybe there's something else also. A poor man never has a whole loaf of bread. He always has pieces, the remnants of something else. So we break the matzah to show that in those days we were poor. We did not have a whole piece of bread. I can't forget what a survivor once told me, that in the concentration camps, when they would get a piece of bread, obviously it hadn't been baked that day. It was an old piece of bread. They never ate it completely. You know what they did? They ate a piece of it and saved part of it for a rainy day, for another day, for a day when they would not receive any bread. And you have to bear in mind, we live in a world of such abundance that we forget that there are people who are hungry, who do not have sufficient bread, who do not have a roof over their heads. So the night of Pesach, when we sit among our people, we feel the warmth of children, of the different members of our family. Let us remember that we're very fortunate that we can sit together, because there are those that can't afford that, don't have it. There are those who do not have a family and therefore cannot partake the way we do. So count your blessings. If you don't have sufficient, remember that those that have only pieces of bread, be glad and be thankful to God for whatever you have, and the fact that you're sitting together with your family, that is probably the biggest blessing of all.